What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. Just got word that the miles needed to complete TNT training has gone from 30,000 miles to 50,000 miles. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I'm not 100% sure if the reason the change was made was totally because of training as much as some outside sources, but I just wanted to talk about it from a training standpoint. Now, if you really think about it, okay, the change between 50,000 and 30,000 is going to basically add about a month to your training. Now, for all you guys that know me, know that I'm all about being overtrained, so for me, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. I spent from April to November on my trainer's truck, and it seems like a lot of the older people that kind of think along the lines of, measure twice, cut once, or slower is faster, have done this. I know a number of different people that have stayed on their trainers' trucks well past the 30,000 miles, and a lot of those people were older people. You know what I'm saying? So my thoughts on this, though, is it either takes 30,000 miles or it takes 50,000 miles. You know what I'm saying? Just throwing up an arbitrary number. I'm not sure if that accomplishes the mission. But when you're dealing with a big company like Prime, sometimes you have to raise the level to the lowest standard. You know what I mean? In a perfect world, and this isn't a perfect world, in a perfect world, it would be more of kind of a boutique training kind of a situation where you got with the trainer and it didn't matter if it was 10,000 miles and they were ready, then that's when they got off the truck. If it was 70,000 miles, that's when they got off the truck. But when you're dealing with so many different people, you have to have continuity throughout all of this. Now, personally, like I had mentioned, I think there's a lot of people that are getting off the truck a little bit early at 30,000 miles. And I'm just saying this based on phone calls that I get from people that have completed their training and just kind of seeing it on my own out there. Obviously there's going to be a group of people that 30,000 miles is going to be enough. As a whole, though, 50,000 miles, if you take the long-term approach, is not going to do anything but better you. Because in 30,000 miles, it would almost be impossible to learn all the stuff that you need to learn in 30,000 miles. And I'm not talking about, how people say, well, I learn every day. Well, you know what? Of course, that's life. You should learn every day. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't the case, then you would still be, I'd be 54 years old, trapped in a, 6-year-old, mindset. So obviously you learn every day, but I'm just talking about practical stuff that you may not complete in 30,000 miles. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at, even some of the situations I've been in. I've almost gone 30,000 miles and only wrote like 1 or 2 comm checks in that 30,000 miles. Didn't have a breakdown and, with one of these students. Didn't have claims. There's just a lot of different things that you don't complete in 30,000 miles. And sometimes if you're trying to complete everything in 30,000 miles, if you're really trying to train, let's put that there. Sometimes it feels like you're trying to stuff 10 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's going to disappoint a lot of people, but if you take a long-term approach, listen, there is nothing worse than getting out on your own and having that uneasy feeling that you haven't been trained properly, or that everybody reverts back to backing. But I'm not even going to get onto that, because backing, you're going to learn backing. You're either going to learn it the easy way or you're going to learn it the hard way. The best way would be to learn it in training. The hard way is to learn it on your own. But even if you learn it on your own, at some point you're going to get it. I'm just talking about some of the other stuff. Just some of the procedures that you need to adhere to. And even just some of the courtesies and stuff that go along with being a truck driver in terms of, just etiquette in general. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's going to, undoubtedly it's going to keep people from coming to prime because it did that the last time they did this. But I'm just gonna throw it out there. If you're a little upset about it, maybe thinking about going somewhere else just because of that, take the long-term approach of this. You know, it wasn't that long ago. Well, it was long ago. Let me stop lying. I was at Chobani in New York, you know, the big Chobani plant, and I'm out there with my trainer at the time. I was in training, and there was a driver, I forget what company he was with, that was having a hard time backing, and my trainer actually got out of the truck and helped him back. Now, this was not a complicated back. If you've been to Chobani, you know that's basically, you know, a little U-turn, straighten it out, straight back into the dock. And I see this with a lot of companies that, you know, I don't even know some of the companies, but they have like what equates to less than 10 days on the truck before you're out on your own. That's clearly not enough. And I think 30,000 is on the verge. I think 30,000 is enough to get the job done, but maybe not get the job comfortably. Unless you have that special student or you happen to be that special student. For me, you know, 30,000 miles as a trainer, if I was just being selfish, 30,000 miles is great. That's enough time for me to just knock out one student, no breaks or home time or anything like that in between. But then again, like I said, that's more kind of me being selfish and just saying, okay, I'd just rather just knock it out in one time. Now, I don't plan on training again for a while. I mean, at least what? At least, shit, 6 months, something like that. And if and when I do train again, that 50,000 miles is going to have to change the way that I do the training, because, you know, even if I am wanting to knock out 50,000 miles at one time, I need to understand, or, you know, that's a long time for a student to be out there going through PSD, you know, those weeks plus any lag time between picking up a trainer between PSD and TNT, and then completing what would account to at least, let's see, you know, 10 months at the fastest out there, or 10 weeks at the fastest out there in training. So now you're talking about 10 weeks in training, and that's if you're humming. And then you know, let's say 3 weeks in PSD, so 13 weeks. That's a long time to stay out. So maybe break that up, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, sometimes when you start breaking stuff up, and if a trainee wants to go home, now you're like, all right, you know, if you want to go home, then, you know, then you don't get paid. You know, is that something, you know, it just brings up a can of worms that really isn't anything that it just brings up a can of worms, you know. And I think that the thing that first hit me when I found out about the miles wasn't the miles, you know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, there seems to be a little bit too many changes going on at Prime right now that make, you know, if this would have been a smaller company and all these changes were happening, like, we're closing this drop yard down, we're closing that drop yard down, we're closing this one down, we're doing this, we're doing, you know, sometimes there's a little bit too much movement. So if I was at a different company, that might be throwing up red flags to me, you know, more than the, you know. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on what's kind of going on right now. But as far as the miles go, listen, just roll with the punches, knock the miles out, try to learn as much as you can, try to be proactive. You know, every time that truck stops, listen, you know when the truck stops. Every time the truck stops, just get out, you know, unless you are dead tired or you just switched, or, you know, whatever it could be, but be proactive. Try to get out there and basically tackle this training, you know what I'm saying? Don't let the training come to you. You go out there and grab that training, you know what I'm saying? So when you are off that truck, you're as prepared as you possibly can be. And like I said, 30,000 miles, you're going to have some questions. Still, when you get off your trainer's truck, 50,000 miles, you're going to have questions when you get off your trainer's truck. I did you know, like I said, April to November, I had questions when I got off my trainer's truck. So you're gonna have questions. It's just, how unprepared are you gonna be? You know what I'm saying? Are you gonna be a little unprepared? Because, you know, like I said, I feel that I did about as good as you could do, and I still felt a little unprepared after all that time. But anyway, hopefully it's something that you can roll with the punches with if you happen to become with Prime. And if not, you know, I mean, if you don't think it's something that you can do, you know, look for some other options, you know, whatever. But I think in the end, it's going to do you some good. Enough about that. I do appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.